Hi, today I'll be talking about the basics for keeping your bonsai alive. I'll be particularly focusing on watering. I believe that that's the number one cause to let your tree down for a beginner. Um, but watering also comes along with several other factors. It's not like we can just think about water on um, a base of how many times do I water a day or a week, or a routine that you have about watering. So it's all about the whole system of the plant and the environment, meaning we have to consider the type of soil that you're using, how's the weather, what season of the year we're in, and it can be very simple depending on how are you monitoring the soil and the moisture that's in it. I've been doing this for a few years, and I still use a method that I believe that it's the best one for me. I just use a kebab stick that I buy on Amazon. I stick it in the soil, and I lift it up, and I can immediately understand if the soil is moist, if it's too dry or too wet, and along with that, I have to consider how's the weather acting. Right now it's spring. It is about 70 Fahrenheit here. Tomorrow is going to be 70, 72 Fahrenheit. So it's fairly hot for a period at this time. It's spring, so the tree is pushing, is needing water. So we have to think that, okay, I'm going to water today. It's about 3 p.m. I need water for the whole night, the whole rest of the day, the night, and tomorrow. What time am I going to be watering again? I'll probably be watering around this time. So I have to have 24 hours of where the tree does not have access to water again, or I'm not going to be monitoring for 24 hours before the next watering, and I want to make sure that I have enough. So instead of do watering just one time, maybe I'll pass it again. We'll see. I'm going to show you how I take care of the watering, because I don't really have a rule, except that I take in considering that okay, tomorrow is going to be 72. It's not windy, because if it was windy, the soil dries a lot faster. Some of the trees have a top layer of sphagnum moss, and that will hold retention more. Some trees are in higher pots, some trees in shallower pots. Some of the trees are in pond baskets. Some trees don't need so much water. Some of the trees need to be always kept moist. So let's nothing like maybe I'll do it with a video, and I'll try to explain as it goes. But keep in mind that most of the times beginners have a lot of issues related with water, and that's because sometimes we just don't, as a beginner, you just don't know, you just don't have that sensitivity. But hold on, let's wait for the helicopter. Okay, so other times, and I see this a lot. For example, people that have a green thumb and that have experience with the garden where they have plants, or they grow tomatoes, lettuce, all those vegetables, anything in the garden. Those plants can get dry and they won't die a lot of times. If the soil is dry, you can just water and they'll be good. It doesn't happen the same with the bonsai. So if you're used to doing the gardening and you just water once a week, when you get to a bonsai tree in a container, it just literally cannot dry. I mean, junipers will hold a little more, but if it's the citrus, for example, and you let the soil dry, you will probably jeopardize in you will have roots drying and your tree will not be successful. I'm going to be critic in another situation because I'm not focusing on that at all. So if and that is to keep trees indoors, bonsai indoors. I'm not convinced at all that you can be successful or develop a tree very well indoors. There's a lot of factors to have in consideration, like a light, moist period of dormancy, all that kind of stuff. And I don't believe you can keep a juniper, for example, indoors. I mean, certainly there's tropicals that you can do it, but it's still, I don't believe. I think eventually the tree will get weak. So take in consideration that if you're a beginner and if you're looking at this video, it's really not, it has really not any direction in terms of watering indoor trees or tropicals. So let's move on. So one of the things about my watering system is nothing special, but I have a connection here that I use a RV water filter in line, and this is just to take off the chlorine of the water. This is I don't have any treatment to the city water that goes in this line, except that I put the RV filter for the water that goes from my bonsai. It was actually not that. That's not the water that supplies the bonsai, but it's the same system. So I have to open my water in the front actually, because the rest of the water inside has a, what do you call that? Shoots. It's a water treatment. I forgot the name. So also very important is the handle that you're using. I use a Masakuni Bonsai nozzle. I haven't used this all the time. I used to have something like this, and it would do just fine, but the water wasn't as thin, and it was not so many holes like here would just be on the periphery of that little circle, and that would not allow me to have such a good control on the water flow. So I have trees that I don't have a chopstick, but I'm going to show you the difference. See here, you see the akadama is dry on top of the soil, and here you can see the akadama is wet, although it's starting to dry, and the sphagnum moss is still moist and the sphagnum moss is dry. It doesn't really mean that this is dry. It means probably that the moisture is around this level, and I don't want it to reduce more because there's fine roots there. So I'm going to water it, and I want it to hold until tomorrow. I'm just going to water this one, and I also don't need a lot of water here because I know that they were still moisture under the soil. I am not watering this one because it's still very moist. I'm not watering the other one because I can see the akadama is also extremely moist over there. Talking about this one, it's all the sphagnum moss is starting to get a little dry, but overall it's wet. Just gonna do a quick rinse. Over here you can see that the akadama is dry, and if you scrape a little, you can see already a little moist under. But here's the big thing about it. I use professional soil. I use akadama, lava rock, pumice, and I rather be wrong by overwatering than underwatering. With this kind of soil, the drainage is so much and the water flow is so much that even if you overwater, you most likely will not have root rot. I have a video about bonsai soil and other things like fertilizing, and you can see this is actually pest and disease control, systemics, herbicide, pesticide, and fungicide. So if you're curious about that, and that's a very these are also factors that are very strong in terms of keeping your tree healthy. Fertilizer, pest and disease, and soil. I have other videos specifically about it, and I would advise you to watch them. Going back to water, this cannot hold for 24 hours, so I'm gonna water again. And I have a control here so I can reduce or open the water flow. And what you want to do is that you want to make sure that the water is, or the soil is saturated and the water is coming from the holes in the pot strongly. So that would mean that everything is wet and the pot is draining a lot of water. All these are in the same situation. So I haven't heard the water falling yet, and here we go. I can hear it. Alright, this is what I would like you to pay attention to. This is a kebab stick that I buy on Amazon, and I cut in half in this case. If I pull it out, I can visually see that the soil is still moist, and I can touch it and I can feel that it's almost dry. And I go back and I try to put it in the same place that I got lost now. I think it was here. And I'm like, oh, it's not going actually. Alright, I'm gonna put it here. I try to put it in the same place all the time so that I don't disturb the root system. And this tree had the soil almost dry, so I'm gonna insist a little on the water. And I like to water from above also on the leaves, especially in hot summer days. You want to cool down the temperature and try to avoid leaf burn. Another thing that you need to have in mind is where are you placing your tree in the house in terms of sun exposure. For example, this area only has sun until noon, and then in the afternoon on the hot hours it's shaded. So it's natural that trees over here don't need as much water as other places that are the whole day in the sun. Alright, this one I can see that it's a little moist. It's also a little dry. I'm going to give it just a little rinse. It will help also the fertilizer to go down. And this is a basket pond. Basket ponds dry a lot faster, and I want to get this really nice and moist. those trees, they still had enough water to go until tomorrow, but it's a little hotter tomorrow than today, so I don't want to take the chance of coming back from work and having some dry soil, totally dry soil. Over here, this area is a lot more shaded, and I have basket plants. Now I can see the sphagnum moss on top of this top layer, and you can see the top layer. How do I do it in another video? But the top layer, you can see already that it's dry, and never mind the good pots here. This is just root cuttings that I'm trying to propagate, but I didn't have any pots, so ignore that, please. Don't start a bonsai in a good pot. That one is already dry, and the rest is so the rest is basket ponds, and these ones dry a lot faster. Therefore, and because it's maples, I have them in an even more shaded area, and they're fairly moist, but I need them to hold until tomorrow at this time, so I don't want to take any chances. So again, I'd rather be over watering a little, especially in this time in the spring, than not watering enough. And there's several signs that you can understand if you're over watering. So I'm not worried at this moment, but if the leaves, if it had already a lot of leaves and the leaves were turning really yellow, then it might be that you're over watering. But we're talking about basket ponds. Basket ponds, a lot of airflow, dries very easy. It is not likely that I ever get this overwater. Alright, coming back here, you can see visually that the sphagnum moss is wet. I'm not gonna water. You can see visually here that the sphagnum moss is dry. Same happens with all of this. And I don't have chopsticks here, except the bigger one, because I'm fairly experienced with these guys over here. But we're gonna see another example of a chopstick very soon. Now I don't have chopsticks in those little guys over there, and that's for a very simple reason. If I put a chopstick on a small pot like that, I'll be moving the soil all over the place with fine, little, delicate roots. You really don't want to be doing that. And I don't believe I'll ever be overwatering with this type of soil. Once again, if you use alternative soils with high organic content, that's when things start getting complicated. The soil can be very compact, or doesn't allow airflow, and then if you have too much water, that's when you start having all kinds of issues. Sorry, I need to go get this hose because I only have one hand available. I also have these ones, the same kind, in basket ponds. And it's kind of like interesting that even though I only had a couple months, maybe not even 2 months, I already can see these ones being stronger than the rest. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe not. I don't know. Alright, let's get to the real deal, the chopstick situation. Okay, you see the soil on top is dry. I can see the top layer. The sphagnum moss is dry. The macadam is dry. I take off the chopstick. I have this top layer of sphagnum moss with soil mixed. It's exactly to not allow the moist to come out that easy. I can feel it moist. It's definitely not wet, it's just slightly moist, so that means that it's time to water. So the reason I use a top layer, top dressing with sphagnum moss is that when you have a young tree full of young fine roots that are closer to the surface, that area is going to dry a lot faster. If you don't have a top dressing to avoid moisture to disappear, you might be losing a lot of roots. Same here. It looks totally dry on the surface. But look, there's still a little bit of a moisture, and I can feel it. It's definitely time. This one I can see visually that it needs water. Same over here. Here and here. All right, citrus trees. You see this yellow? Yes, yeah. This is the result of over-watering. Citrus trees do not like a lot of water. They cannot be dry. Oh, I gotta be chasing me down. Whoa. All right, almost thought she was gonna stung me. Citrus trees do not like a lot of water, and it's almost dry, so I feel comfortable in watering a little different than the rest. I don't want to keep the situation of the yellow leaves developing more, so I'm gonna water slightly less and hope that after all the rain that we had, the situation gets under control. This was dry. Now we're on the junipers, and junipers can get a little less water, but still we are on growing season, so we need to keep these guys. Oi, I broke it. Nice job. Alright, so I need a new one. And I need water. Yeah, so after a while the chopsticks will start eventually rotting, and you're gonna have to put new ones. I'm sorry, calling it chopsticks, but it's actually kebab sticks, and they're a lot thinner. I buy them on bulk on Amazon, and that's my water meter. I've tried water meters, electronic, and this and that, but honestly, for me, this is the best option. It's impossible to have a good reading that reflects the whole height of the pot with a water meter. You're gonna get less moist on top, more moist on the bottom, and it's just simply not accurate. By the way, normally my soil has perfect drainage. You can see this one is not so good, so eventually I'm going to have a problem. Hopefully it will be good until next spring. I can poke a few holes just to make it better. I know this tree needs a lot of water. It's dry also. This guy. So look at the size of this pot. This is really big. For me to understand, and this tree doesn't take a lot of water, but it looks dry on the top, right? So I have this stick across, and it is still moist till here, and I have it like this. It is very slightly moist, so it's actually time. But this allows me to understand much better what's going on. And in this case, I gotta go around.
So basically all my trees need water, some less than others. Now I wanted to make a case about not watering some of them. The fact is that it's been a hot day and tomorrow's going to be hot again, so I actually had to. But just so you see, for example, this pot dries a lot faster. It's shallow, there's not a lot of soil. So it's natural that this one will be watered less days than that one. I always water the foliar mass. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people say that, oh, don't get the foliar mass wet in strong sun, like, you know, over 100 or even more. And you should understand that that is a myth that was debunked several times. Watering from above will not make them burn. The water will not reflect the sun and get, like, you know, the effect of the glass burning the leaves. It will simply cool off the tree and will be better for your tree. Watering from above will also eliminate some dust and I'd say even prevent some kind of fungus at some point. I used to not water from above and I would always get a lot of fungus, black spots, and the year that I started watering from above, I felt the difference, like that it kind of cleans the foliar mass, and maybe the water still has residual chlorine that also controls that. I'll be speculating on that one, but overall my trees are healthier since I changed that. That's it. So just to conclude, get some kebab sticks or something else that does the same, toothpicks, I don't know, and put it in your tree, in between the edge of the pot and between the trunk. On the middle would be a good spot. So ideally it would be actually around here. And when you need to understand if you should water, pull it out, look at it visually, touch it, because sometimes it gets darker, but it's because it was just dirty from the soil. Touch it, feel the moistness that it has, and then decide, considering the weather conditions, wind and all that, if you're gonna go ahead and water or not. There are just a couple of very important things in terms of bonsai. One is the soil, the water, and then you have fertilization, and then you have pests and disease control. Aside from watering, you have other videos in my channel that you can look at it. Please feel free and let me know what you think, and I wish you luck. I hope this clears out some watering questions that I've been having. Thank you.